Hello guys, I'm joined today with Barbara Schuette, and she is a carnivore yoga instructor. So following along with the theme from my channel, my very, very niche theme, which evolves around kind of training, fitness, bodybuilding, and the carnivore diet itself, I want to interview her today about all these topics. So how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So how do you get started practicing yoga and teaching it?
I was an avid runner most of my life. Well, I guess the last 25 years, not most of my life. But the joints were starting to hurt a little bit after pounding the pavement for miles and miles a day for years and years. So I found yoga close to my work when I was working in St. Louis. And that was about 9 years ago. And that, I think, really slowly transitioned me from the excessive cardio into being a little more gentle on my body. And getting that mobility that is, I think, so necessary as we age, especially.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm guessing you've kind of got stronger along the way as well, because I know people that do loads of running, but somehow they seem to get lots of injuries and fractures and things. So how does yoga come into it? I understand there's like a strength element to it as well.
Yeah, so I mean, most people think about yoga as being more about flexibility and mobility, which I think are extremely important in any person's age. But for me, what yoga showed me also was strength and stability. So keeping those joints strong and very stable and able to, to go sprint or whatever. And like you said, reduce the risk of injury. So it's all about, strengthening the synovial sac surrounding the joints and just keeping that fresh oxygenated blood coming into the joints. And there's so much other things that yoga does. I mean, obviously the mental aspect, but, we talk about in the classes that I teach, we are like literally flushing and rinsing out our internal organs. And it's so good for our spine. And without a healthy spine, you just don't have, you need your spine in everything you do. So yoga is just kind of like an all-in-one kind of package deal for, the mental, the emotional, and the physical aspects of what a person needs.
Yeah, I can get behind that. So my brother, he's about 6 years older than me, does like some kind of bodybuilding, workout routines, things like that. He's been incorporating yoga now for quite a few years. He's also been doing football, so soccer for you guys in the US. But he's found he's had to do yoga as part of like his routine now, so his regimen.
Yeah.
So what I'm guessing is there's kind of levels to it. So someone like me who's quite a novice in this kind of thing, maybe I might start doing things in a chair, and I know you kindly sent me a video which I've had a look at. So what kind of, like, how would you go about starting it? Is it based on your abilities at a given time, or do you just all start on the same level?
I mean, there are different types of classes. Some are just specifically for beginners and more gentle yoga. We teach that at our studio, but I also teach an all levels class, which is originally called Bikram yoga. Some of your viewers may be familiar with that. I call it the Hot 26 at our studio. And that is an all levels class. So basically all levels, if you're dealing with an injury, if you're an elderly person, it is an all levels class that people can come into wherever they're at, even if they're brand new. It was my first yoga class I ever took. Didn't know a thing about yoga, and I took this class, this Hot 26 class. And so you just do the poses to your ability. Okay, you may only be here and someone else is here, and that's okay, because that's what you're aspiring to, is to improve with each class.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just sort of, we get you into the postures in certain stages and steps, and we give you instruction, and you go to your fullest capability. And if you have a limitation, that's where you stop. So we always encourage people to listen to their bodies. And that may not be a shape that's available for your body, depending on what you're dealing with. Like you said, like maybe you start with chair yoga because you're not able to get down onto the floor and easily get back up. So we try to teach all different types to make sure that everybody gets what they need.
Yeah, that's super helpful, actually. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this, some of my channel viewers are actually people that are very limited. And it seems bizarre, like, why would you follow a carnivore bodybuilder? But the thing is, we all started somewhere. We've all practiced different kind of modalities and movements and things like that. And I think ultimately we're just trying to improve our body's ability to move. And people on the other side of it, like myself, are kind of using that movement to build muscle. I think it kind of comes together and it's usually like a symbiotic benefit between like strength and muscular tone, size, fitness, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to beginners then about starting yoga? Of course, I know you do different workshops and classes. I believe you do some things online as well. Yeah. Is there like a base level you start at? So I know you kind of alluded to this earlier.
Yeah, I just think too, like you said, you mentioned earlier too with yoga, I believe it's complementing what else you have going on, whether you're a weightlifter or a runner or, into sports. I know a lot of athletes are beginning to incorporate this into their routine, and it's actually helping them to become a better athlete. But yeah, I always say, start where you are. I don't know, not everybody knows where they are, but like if you can't get down on the floor, that's what we're going to try to work. We're going to try to help you get onto the floor. We're going to try to help you get up from the floor. I've had clients that literally cannot do that, and that's okay. That's, begin where you are and, try to improve. So we call it a practice. Yoga is a practice. So, and practice makes improvement, not perfection, improvement.
Yeah.
And so we try to help people do the poses the right way so that they don't have an injury and so that they get the most benefit out of the posture and out of the practice.
Cool. Yeah. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but it's something called DDPY. Diamond Dallas Page Yoga. So that's what a lot of people that are involved in sport nowadays, perhaps they've had sport injuries, have started to do. So I'm sure it's probably quite similar to what you practice, but there's an element of maybe fitness, dynamic movement to it as well.
Gotcha.
So it might be, you might get into a push-up position, but you might do a static hold on one side or something like that. But yeah, something like that might be useful for people as well. Now, what else does it come down to in terms of building flexibility? Obviously, you've mentioned the fact that you have to be specific, do the right thing for your level of mobility, things like that. But is there anything else which make a difference, like diet perhaps, or anything like that?
Oh yeah. So I teach the class I teach is actually very strenuous. Like I'm almost in my zone two target heart rate training, like several times during the class. Sometimes my heart rate's way up, to 160 because we hold these static poses for so long. But as teaching, I was noticing that I was, getting like more worn out in the classes, more out of breath, becoming more anaerobic. And so I started a carnivore diet a year ago, and my strength and my stamina within my own teaching, the classes has become so much more. I can just put it all out there and teach a very invigorating class, and I just have so much more strength. I've also added weightlifting to my routine, and just think more of a healthier blend than what I've had the previous 50 some years of my life.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wouldn't have thought you were 50. I would have thought you're about 40, maybe. I don't know.
Thank you.
So something
Appreciate
you're doing
that.
is right. Obviously you come to the diet about a year ago, but
Yeah.
all the modalities you've done up to that point have probably helped as well. I think there's a lot to be said about. It's not my area of expertise at all. Maybe you can elaborate, but how it affects mental health as well, because obviously if you've got a poor mental state, you'll age very quickly. Can you speak on that at all?
Yeah. So obviously, stress levels, and they all play into how well you sleep. And so the yoga practice can honestly help you, like I said, tie these three bodies, the mental, emotional, and physical bodies together. And they all are connected. So if one is off, if you are like in a place not well mentally, it is going to affect your body physically. And I think everybody kind of realizes that. But so yoga does, between the breath work and the actual practice, the movement, everything kind of ties in together and does help you to reduce your stress levels. And it's just like the diet that I'm on, the carnivore diet or ketovore diet. It's really about getting those hormones in balance. And so when I started the diet as well, eating a lot higher fat than I've ever eaten in my life, that definitely helped I know that my hormones changed, and I know that I felt this calmness and less anxiety that even yoga had not been helping me, attain. I didn't even know. I I didn't really realize that I was, that anxious or stressed out. But once I got that calmness going into me, like through the way of eating that I had found, I think it all just kind of came together. Like I said, the strength, and then, the mental calmness and lack of anxiety that I had experienced. And also some minor, little bouts of depression, just minor.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I've had a similar experience to that myself. For me, it's been a case of like, people that watch this channel of mine, they know what I've been through and stuff like that. They know how many things I've attempted and tried to reduce inflammation. Kind of now I'm at that stage where I need to really start tapering back the training in terms of bodybuilding, being very specific with the exercises. And would I be right in saying that with yoga, you're in a way becoming stronger at the weakened ranges of movement? So, the area where people are most susceptible to injury. Would you say that as a fair kind of comment?
Yeah, exactly. And so, obviously, the stronger you keep your muscles and your joints and ligaments surrounding any type of weakened joint, the better you are. And to get more flexibility and to get more range of motion in that joint is going to help it feel better. Yoga definitely helps. 1,000%. I can imagine. I almost have to do it daily to feel good. I can go take a walk and it's not the same as when I practice and actually just like, I have no pain, but I also have no pain because of my very low, if completely anti-inflammatory way of eating.
Yeah. That's
changed a lot of stuff that, like I said, again, with the mental aspect, yoga couldn't cure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like to call it the carnivore cure, but it's just how strongly I feel about it. So the combination of the two have just been a huge deal for me. I have a few other friends that are doing it as well. Yeah. Yoga and this way of eating. And it's like, we all just come together. We're like, oh my gosh, we've got this magic secret pill or, this secret. And, we try to tell people, but not everybody wants to hear about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I went to a wellbeing festival recently, and it was shown to be kind of like a plant-based thing. It is very bizarre because although everyone there was, health conscious like yourself, they're very focused on being kind to the earth and all that sort of thing, The thing was, what they're doing with their diet was perhaps the most inflammatory thing they could possibly do. And I wasn't seeing many healthy people there. I wasn't seeing many happy people there. So, did you have a previous background with maybe a high plant-based diet or anything at all?
Yes, I had been vegetarian. I had been vegan before I found keto, and then carnivore. And I was kind of, my blood work wasn't terrible, but I was like one of those what they call tofis, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. I have probably way more than I did then, but I have like less. I'm pretty sure less visceral and subcutaneous fat, around the waist. I just feel 100% better. I almost feel better now than I did in my 20s, but that's a whole other story. But it's just, yeah. I didn't know how good I could feel, and I think, I know that plants are supposed to be healthy and everything, but I don't think digestively they were ideal for me, and I don't think that I was able to get all the nutrients out of them because, like, I was losing my hair, my skin wasn't optimal. And no energy. And that's huge for me. I want energy. I want to be able to get through my day, get my things done and feel good and have time for my family. And so, yeah, it's just, I think the whole combination.
Yeah, I've experienced that crash myself. I was eating like 1,000 grams of carbs a day at one point, for months on end. So a lot of food, guys. We're talking like, equivalent in rice, like 12 packets of microwave rice. An insane amount of food. So yeah, I was doing that every day for months and I felt like trash. But it's funny now because like my food volumes got smaller. My fat intake's obviously higher like yours, Barbara, but I don't... What they've said about like, you eat fat, you get fat kind of thing, it's not been true for me at all. And as soon as I got past that mindset of like, okay, I can eat this fat, and although it is pure fat, which will be stored in my body immediately, my body will also deal with that down the line. And I think people just have the wrong sort of relationship with food. And I know you touched as well about your different diets and the phases you've been through over the past few years. How hard was it for you to go from, like paleo to keto or keto to carnivore? Was it a massive jump for you? Do you have any difficulties at all?
The massive jump was just cutting out the processed foods, ultimately that's what it was. And then the reason carnivore worked so well for me is because it kept me satiated. And, previously I'd always been, hungry and trying to portion control. And so basically my entire life I've exercised so that I could eat what I wanted. I use that as my tool. Okay, I can eat as much as I want. I'm just going to work it off tomorrow. And it's not a good way to live. It's not a good way to have letting food be in control of you, and you're not in control of what you put in your mouth, and then just the nutrient part of it. But I think I got off track there.
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed with a lot of people is they're not having like 5-6 meals a day or 3 meals and 3 snacks. I used to have 6 meals a day, sometimes more. Now I could go, like today, for example, 3 meals, and I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to go to sleep fine. I'm not going to feel sick. I'm not going to feel like, I haven't eaten enough. I'm not going to need to have that carb coma to go to sleep, which is quite a bizarre kind of feeling. Yeah, I mean, you probably experienced that as well. So what are you eating now in a day? Like, are you having 2 meals, 3 meals?
I pretty much eat about 2 meals. I guess I'm unintentionally intermittent fasting. I'll eat around my first meal around 1 or 2, second one around maybe 5. First meal is usually a little lighter. It's meat, eggs, seafood, occasional dairy, not even daily on the dairy anymore, and butter, just a high fat carnivore.
Yeah,
that's just how I feel my best. I do eat pork and chicken, but not very much. Most of my meats are ruminant meats, just because they actually just make me feel better.
Yeah, I found that as well. I can't. If I eat like a chicken breast, I don't get that same hit. Like, it sounds bizarre. Yeah. Like, how do you get a hit from what you're eating? Right. If you can eat like 10 chicken breasts, but you can only eat, a pound of beef, you'll know what I mean. People have to experience it to really understand what we're saying here.
They really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have to eliminate things before they can let the other things. You can't just add meat, fat to what you're already eating. You got to take out some of that other stuff, basically do an elimination diet. And then you'll see how good these things make you feel. And once you add back in the other things, you can just figure out, that's not working, or,
Agreed.
That's how I figured it out.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I want to ask what about your training. So I know you practice yoga and things like that, but how does that come into training? Are you training once, twice a week? Like, what is your, Monday to Sunday schedule?
Yeah, I try to walk every day, at least 3 miles. And I'm doing weights about twice a week. So I do like that slow burn method. I don't know if you've heard of Frederick Hahn. So basically, it's not anything on your level as far as what I'm doing, but it's just like one set of not all of the machines, like 6 to 10 machines. I go to Planet Fitness, and I just do very slow reps. So about 60 to 90 seconds, one set, one machine, and I move on.
I like the sound
of
that.
It's a whole different thing, but yeah, I'm putting on muscle, and I know that I need to do that as I'm aging. So trying my best to stay healthy and strong.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that methodology completely. What I recommend to people is, for time to tension, like 45 to 120 seconds. How you scale that based on your own individual ability, your injury, how far you can push a set. It's kind of that bracket for me. And I think what you're doing is probably perfect to get best of both worlds. So 1, keep the muscle tissue on, and 2, keep strong and keep fit. And yeah, in a circuit type fashion like you're doing, so lots of different body parts in a given day. If training twice a week, that's perfect. I would be doing the same thing personally. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said as well, I mean, people might be surprised you can still get results doing 2 sessions per week of training. Is that what you've always done, or have you done that and you kind of found that's your sweet spot?
I just started within the last 6 months, so yeah, that's my sweet spot, because I don't love it until I'm there. So getting myself there is like a big deal. And then once I'm there, I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I know it's important. I'm aging. I just can't go out and water my flowers and lift a can of water and that be enough. It's just not enough. So I know that this is important. Yeah. And my legs have definitely gotten stronger. I know I've put on a little bit of weight. I'm okay with that. I got to letting that scale thing go.
I agree.
Because I still fit my clothes just fine. My waist size is the same. And I just feel stronger. And I want to keep my joints supported because I know that in the past I've had joint pain. And I know that I've got to keep the muscles surrounding it strong like we talked about. And so I think it's a good combination, strength training and, just my yoga class that I teach, I feel like I'm sprinting in that class because I'm constantly getting up into zone 2 training. And so that's my sprinting. And I'm also teaching in about 105 degrees. So we are we are drenched and have had a great workout after that yoga class.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I think it's always interesting to hear what people do for training and diet and that sort of thing. And I got asked a question recently. It was like, how do you work out your ideal body weight? And I said, well, it's going to be very individual. If I tried to reach my ideal body weight based on a graph or a table or a chart, it's going to put me at like 70 kilos. I'm 6'1", I'm 112 kilos right now. I would be emaciated at 70 kilos. So I wouldn't be able to perform the tasks that I need to do in the day for my hobbies, my interests, that sort of thing. So I think you're completely right. Yeah, you can't be hyper-focused on the scale. It's not representative as well of like your muscle mass, strength, how you feel. And I've met people as well, like they've been maybe like a wrestler or something. Their waist has got bigger in size because they have got more musculature around their waist to help, absorb impact and things. Doesn't necessarily mean they're unhealthy. It's just their body's adapted to what they need to do. And I think people get very obsessed over like numbers and things. How much do you bench out of interest?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm using the machines. I don't bench.
That's a good answer. Yeah, I don't like people bench pressing. I've not done it in years. So it seems to be a good one to get you injured, I think. I wanted to ask as well a little bit about how long is it taking you to get to the point where you are now? I mean, you've had probably quite a varied health journey, like a lot of people on the carnivore diet. Are there any sort of pinpoints in time where you could go back and say, I needed to change this because of this, and how did you get to where you are today, kind of thing?
Just in general, I overtrained with excessive cardio. That was the majority of my life, like I said, so I could eat what I wanted, basically, and that sometimes after those workouts, I just felt, just exhausted, and the rest of my day I drug, although it did make me feel good, I wasn't going to not exercise, but like I said, finding the yoga and then now the weight training, and then just knowing that I don't need to do hours and hours of cardio every week, keep my muscles strong, keep myself flexible and mobile. And I feel like I've found the winning combination as far as aging gracefully with enough strength to get through, my daily activities and be able to keep up with my grandkids and all that good stuff. That's all really important to me.
Yeah.
And I think it plays into longevity, and that's kind of what I'm really into is longevity.
Yeah. Are you aware of something called, someone called Hans Selye?
What now?
Hans Selye.
I don't know what that means.
Okay, so it's a gentleman, perhaps like 100 and something years ago. He invented the principle of stress. So, this is a stressful situation. An ambulance coming to the house next door to you is a stressful situation. You don't know what's going on, that sort of thing. So it's just basically the stress principle. And what he kind of says is anything that isn't natural in your day-to-day life that you wouldn't normally do is a stress to the body. And I think you've kind of outlined that very, very well. You've said, you're trying to stay mobile, fit, agile, strong, whilst not also taking the mix and not just running on the treadmill for 2 hours a day, So I think you've got that right balance, like you said. And I think people, the recent thing that's been coming out is Dr. Sean O'Mara. He came out and said about, losing visceral fat and sprinting and all this sort of thing. I think that's great information, but I know some people out there will take that in a different light. So they'll say, "Oh, if 3-4 sprints is good, I'm going to do 10. Next week I'm going to do 20." They end up in a point where they got this chronic like knee pain, and the body can't keep up with it. So I think, you know, you have to do the right workload for you. And it seems like over you've been doing the training now for like 6 months. It seems to be working really well. So I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. You just can't overdo it. You can overdo a good thing, and too much of it's not good. Yeah. I hear Dr. Amar talk about, like, I don't know, he does it about like 6 to 8 sprints and maybe 12 to 20 seconds per sprint, and then like with a minute or so rest in between. And yeah, I could see people taking that to the extreme for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a competitive sprinter, and I found you kind of do different periods of different kind of workloads. So you might do up to 12 sprints one day, then you might come back about 3 days later and do maybe 6, but you'll split up your training appropriately. So you might focus more on technique, or you might just get to the point where you can get into the kind of like the sprinting phase, the bit just after where you're taking off, and the bit just at the end where you're sort of dipping for the line sort of thing. And you might try and get to the point where you're just in that really fast zone, but you'll just do it over and over again. And yeah, what was interesting is when I go back in time and looked at what I was doing then, my waistline was like 28 inches. I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'1", so that's a very small waist. It's not that anymore, but I can't sprint anymore. But one of my goals is to achieve things like you and do some sprints, do some like really physically intense stuff, and get on the floor, do all the yoga pose and things like that. So yeah, it's been quite inspirational, and it's nice hearing from someone, you know, a few years older than me that can sort of outline what they're doing and how they're approaching this to improve their health. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, come do some yoga with us.
Yeah,
you're in the online group, I think.
That's right. Yeah, I am. So on that note, how can people find you if you want to be found? What services do you promote? And also, what social media do you have?
Okay. I have a website, lotusroomyoga.com, and that's where, if you want, you can sign up for our online yoga platform, which is weekly uploads of yoga videos with all different levels. And that's kind of what we're talking about here today. I'm pretty proud of that. There's about over 160 yoga classes, workshops, and meditations on there. So that's an exciting platform that we created. We have our local yoga studio, and so that's just a complement to what members can get if they want to go in the studio, or if they're on the road traveling, they can do it in their hotel room or wherever they're at on the beach. Yeah. And let's see, I am on Instagram primarily at lotusroomyoga.bjs, and also carnivore_yogis. I'm having fun with that one right now.
Yeah. I'll put those below, guys, so you can click on them and investigate and see what's going on. I do suggest you follow us. She does put quite frequent posts out, so it's useful to see and connect with like-minded people that are just trying to stay fit and healthy. So thank you very much for coming on, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I appreciate you.